I also officially welcome you to this segment of SMB News Recap as we go through the day's previous news stories and, of course, getting to understand what's really making headlines right there to ensure that we make the right decisions. Don't forget, of course, channel 394 Go TV, channel 372 on DSTV, and you will be able to catch us at whatever part of as we deliver to you the business news right there. And our social media handles at Smart24TV, that's on Twitter, Smart24TV Facebook, and Smart24TV Live on YouTube. And you will be in position this time around to catch us at whatever part of the globe you will be at as we deliver to you this business information. And of course, to make the appropriate business decisions. Remember, we are global, not only local. All right. Regarding the reports we should expect this morning in terms of business, we shall be assessing the gold revenues as we know that the country resumed the gold trade, trading gold, and of course we shall be seeing what's really transpiring right there. And also we shall have an insight regarding the global shocks that's impact on the banking sector. Yes, quite remarkable, something we shall be reviewing that later on. And also we shall review a report on pest evasion that's in agriculture. That is something also that we shall be expecting to understand. And also we shall look into the aspect of the regional fundings. Yes, and as you get to understand what's really transpiring. And this time around, we shall be talking the East African community affairs in that regard. So it's very important that you keep on Smart24 TV as you really wait for this insight. It's going to be quite very beneficial to you right there. Remember, it's your responsibility as a person to ensure that you get the relevant information, which is going to be very important for your success in your business. It all relies on you. Remember, we always inspire you in so many ways, but despite the fact that you get inspired, it's very important that you pay attention to the information that you are availed with. That's to ensure that you actually gain quite a lot out of it, because at the end of the day, you make the right decisions, you disseminate this information, and you make the appropriate decisions. And now heading straight to the news recap, let's take a look at the gold revenues. And this time around, as we get to understand that the nation, the gold trade has resumed, and of course the gold exports in Uganda, Uganda exports towards other countries have also increased. As also we see that in this regard, there has been a tax levied on these particular exports of gold being put right there. And so let's take a look at this report as we see the participants, what they really think regarding this particular matter. I'll be returning with the highlights.
In Uganda, the gold industry is so secretive that most people avoid talking about it. A tax of 5% was levied on each kilogram of refined gold and 10% on unprocessed gold for export under the Mining and Mineral Amendment Bill. The new rule went into effect in July, requiring gold exporters to reserve stock in an effort to avoid paying the tax. The restriction on exporting unprocessed gold was covered by the agreement of exporting 96.1% of the Uganda's gold exports. Since July, the exporters' boycott of the new levy has cost Uganda an estimated $720 million in lost gold shipments. Data from Uganda Export Promotion Board, however, shows that Uganda's gold exports in financial year 2020-2021 were $2,249.7 million and $1,118.38 million in financial year 2019-2020. For financial year 2021, there was zero data due to the 12-month suspension, but in August this year, it was $171.03 million that was collected, whereas in 2020, same period, $221 million was collected. According to Bank of Uganda monetary policy statement that was released for the last quarter of the year earlier this month, the domestic economic activity that includes mining has seen progress despite economic challenges.
Composite Index of Economic Activity, CIEA, grew slightly by 1.2% in the quarter to August 2022 from 1.1% in the quarter to May 2022, supported by increased industrial activity.
Minerals Development Institution says our gold we need to add value, which is goods, that is to say miners and those in refineries.
We promote value addition at local levels, and we say, oh, there is a, we have, most of the countries have mini laboratories for value addition. You can have a mobile gold refinery with the ministry. It will drive it to Kasanda, it will park there. Every dollar of gold is brought in, they buy it, put it there. Mobile. They bring it here to Central Bank, they say they take to the refinery, it's refined, stamped Uganda product, brought to the Central Bank, sold as a Ugandan product. That then you are creating, you can make more money in that. So what you are asking me, I don't believe that the increase in the revenue is based on value addition, because there is little value addition, which we need to increase. And the government is doing that because they are going to putting up buying centers and processing hubs. That's what we need to promote and support the government.
Recent exploration surveys in Uganda have led to the discovery of approximately 31 million tons of gold. Recent exploration surveys in Uganda have led to discovery of approximately 31 million tons of gold ore deposits, from which an estimated 320,158 tons of the refined gold could potentially be extracted, with its value currently standing at $12.8 trillion US dollars.
That's a report regarding the gold revenues from the gold since the nation resumed the gold trade. According to officials, since the Africa Gold Refinery in Entebbe opened, Uganda's gold exports have increased. And after a year, the country has resumed its gold trade. A new levy, which has been suggested under gold merchants, have already started. That's exporting the gold again. Very, very interesting right there. And now, away from that, let's head to the banking sector in Uganda, and this time around we are looking at the shocks that are being impacted on this particular sector. Remember, the sector has been trying to recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, but this time around it's being hit by the global web, the global shocks. That's the Ukraine war and so many other factors which are also contributing to the rising inflation. Let's have the details.
According to the most recent World Bank economic analysis for Uganda, although the country's economy is recovering from the severe effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, chances for growth are being threatened by the mounting demands on its natural resources. The COVID-19 pandemic had a significant impact on the banking industry, since clients couldn't make loan payments, which resulted into huge losses for banks. Despite the fact that banks received tax breaks from the central bank, the recovery has been slow.
Impact on the banking sector was really the COVID pandemic. You will recall that at the onset of the pandemic, especially in Uganda, which was around March 2020, we went into a lockdown. And when we were in a lockdown, there was curtailed movement, CTC, people could not make payments on their loans, so banks took substantial losses of their portfolios that we held during that time. But you recall that there was a lot of intervention to try and soften the ground for the borrower. So we had repayment holidays. The central bank allowed banks like ourselves to restructure facilities. You have bank customers who are unable to make payments on their loans for an extended period of time. It impacts bank profitability, it impacts the services we are able to offer, it impacts what we are able to invest in the sector. So COVID especially was a tremendous hit on the industry. So,
according to the estimates, inflation can cost the typical household up to $500,000 every month. The rising price of food, home goods and vital services is to blame for this outlay. A significant organization like a bank will pay significantly more. The financial sector has been decimated by inflation, which is currently at 8.1%, making investors suffer and, in the long run, discourages investment. Additionally, it affects whether insurance costs go up or down. Every industry is affected by the cascading effect, which drives up prices across the board.
Prices are going up, but so is the cost of money in the market. Now we suffer what we call margin compression, or a squeeze on our margins. So as you know, banks, we don't use our money to lend. We use depositors' money, savers.
However, the banking sector has grown considerably over the last 2 decades, growing from 20 commercial banks with a total asset base of 1.35 trillion Ugandan shillings, representing average assets per regulated bank of 0.07 trillion Ugandan shillings in 1999, to 25 commercial banks with a total asset base of 38.30 trillion Ugandan shillings, representing average assets per regulated bank of 1.53 trillion in 2020.
As the country is still recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic, global inflation is another logistical challenge affecting various sectors of the country. Banking sector being one of them has been affected as customers are unable to pay off their loans on time, hence big losses in the bank.
That's regarding the global shocks coming into, of course, the banking sector in Uganda. And of course, like we know that the sector has been trying to overcome the effects of the COVID-19, but certainly, of course, the global crisis, considering the Ukraine war coming into the picture, was another big effect and a big blow to the sector, particularly in Uganda. Okay, according to the report here, the Ugandan economy is suffering a negative external shock caused by the global recessions like the COVID-19 pandemic, the global inflation, and the Ukraine war. The banking sector is one of those that were affected by these global shocks. Customers were already, of course, at risk averse due to the pandemic, and with the rising inflation combined with the low economic growth. And of course, the wealth is not only just in Uganda, but also other East African countries in the region, and also other countries in the world at large, that the developing countries are being affected the most by these particular waves in that aspect. Okay, away from that, now let's head to the agriculture sector. And this time around, we are looking at the pest evasion in agriculture. We know that the industry is largely being affected by migratory illness, accompanied, and of course, with the pests. Of course, this is also affecting the yields which are being, of course, gotten by the farmers, affecting their profitability and livelihood. Let's have the details.
Previously, in 2020 February, a swarm of locusts attacked Uganda from Kenya, mainly through Amdat district and Karamoja sub-region. These pests leave crops devastated and also causing a damage on agriculture.
We have those pests that we have lived with. You know them, these caterpillars that eat cabbage, caterpillars that eat tomatoes, the drying of tomatoes. There we get losses of between 30 and 40%. But there are these migratory pests that come and invade a mass in what we call swarms or flocks of birds. These you can incur losses of 100%. So, like a quelea bird can eat its own weight of 5 grams. Now, if it is eating 5 grams of rice and there are 3 million birds, so 5 grams times 3 million, that is 15 what? So you find you are losing like 15 metric tons of rice if you have 1 million birds in one day. This is why we are saying, and we always make reference to the loss we incurred in the Kapchorwa Kweni area. The farmers had got money to grow sorghum for Nile breweries and Uganda breweries. And we lost 1,000 acres of sorghum to these quelea birds.
Currently, migratory pests in Uganda that limit agricultural output include desert locusts, armyworms, sassaflies, and quillbirds. Somalia, Djibouti, Sudan and South Sudan, as well as Uganda, Kenya and Tanzania in East Africa have all been impacted.
Those other migratory pests and vectors include the armyworm, the sassafly, the quelea bird, and any other that may emerge at any one time, as long as that vector or pest threaten food security in the member country.
Crop losses due to pests and diseases are estimated at 10 to 20% pre-harvest, 20 to 30% post-harvest, and up to 100% for perishable crops and export crops.
Uganda is prone to the invasion of the quelea bird, which destroy grains, most especially rice and other grains that look like a grass.
Stakeholders like government are trying their level best to fight these pests and diseases to revive regions that have been affected.
Uganda has one of the best conditions for agriculture production due to its mild climate and also a large amount of fertile land and frequent also rainfall. In partnership with that, it has long served as the foundation of Uganda's economy. Of course, agriculture has long served as the foundation of Uganda's economy, generating about 37% of the country's gross domestic product. But however, the industry is suffering from migratory illness and pests that's avoiding detection. So that's quite a very challenging aspect right there regarding that. That's the agricultural sector, and definitely the stakeholders calling in for more funding to ensure that such diversities, such cases of unforeseen circumstances which affect the industry definitely can be sorted and dealt with to ensure that the industry goes on appropriately. And finally, as we wind up with the news recap, let's take a look at the regional funds. A report regarding that, as the leadership of the East African community has called for the timely disbursement of funds from partner states for proper budgeting. The Deputy Registrar of the East African Community, Her Worship Christine Mutimiru, says that some member states delay to pay funds which cripple the performance of the community. Let's have the details.
During the regional media training for editors and reporters on the East African Court of Justice, the Deputy Registrar of the East African Community, Her Worship Christine Mutimiru, raised a red flag over the delay by East African member states to disburse funds for proper budgeting.
There's an obligation when a partner state joins the East African Community, and the obligation of every partner state is actually to make its contribution in a timely manner. We have some partner states who have done that, and we have partner states who have not been able to do that. And I believe this has been brought to the attention of the Summit of Heads of State who have guided on this matter of partner states that have delayed with their disbursements.
The East African budget for the fiscal year 2021-22 is $91.7 million. If paid, the areas would cover more than a half of the budget. According to the East African Community Council of Ministers, $54.1 million was to be contributed by partner states or raised as other internal revenues, and $37.6 million from development partners. Her Worship Christine Mutimiru revealed that the East African Community has got no donation apart from its member states, highlighting the need for the increase on the budget.
That the court cannot be funded, court sessions cannot be funded from any other source apart from the partner states. You cannot have donors fund the sessions of the court. The most that donors can fund are things like conferences and trainings. But in terms of court sessions, we need contributions from partner states, but we also need an increase in the budget that has been allotted to the court.
Following the conclusion of the conference, the East African Court of Justice shall hold its annual rotational court sessions during the month of November at the Commercial Court of Uganda premises in Kampala, Uganda.
Before up to 2nd December, the court will be here in Kampala. We'll be sitting in the Commercial Court of Uganda for the whole month of November up to 2nd of December. So the judgment will be, the court session will be for all matters coming from all the partner states, not only coming from Uganda, from all the partner states, and also you are able to get even the cause lists of the matters which will be heard in Kampala. So you have the right to get access to the cost list, because the court belongs to you, and you have the right also to ask any question relating to the matter, except the matter which are still in court for the matter of confidentiality.
The objective of rotating the court's November session is to bring the service of the court closer to the people by the use of the media and to enhance the visibility of the court as it undertakes its mandate of promoting access to justice.
So from the media is that what we are doing is known by the people, because that's the role of the media. Because otherwise people think that the court is there for sitting only. But what is the role of the court into implementing the agenda of the community, the cross-border matters, the matter of human rights, the matters of integration, and the judgment we are rendering the judgments.
The East African Court of Justice is one of the organs of the East African Community established under Article 9 of the Treaty for the Establishment of the East African Community. Established in November 2001, the court's major responsibility is to ensure the adherence of law in the interpretation and application of the compliance with the East African Community Treaty.
Yes, that's the report regarding, of course, the morning report for your business recap, the business news recap regarding the top stories that are making headlines in the world of business the previous day. And of course, we've come to the end of this particular session. But if you just joined us, just to give you a highlight of where we started from, we reviewed something regarding gold revenues, as according, of course, to the features. The nation, of course, has reviewed the gold trade, and we looked at the new tax that has been levied, as we see the gold merchants have already started exporting the gold again. So we came down to the global shocks impact that's in the banking sector, and this time around realized that the banking sector is trying to recover from the effects of the COVID-19, but here comes another global recession, a global wave, which is also affecting great economies. That's the Ukraine war, and also this coming back to the banking sector in Uganda. And we see that majority of the sectors of the developing countries are being affected by the global shocks. Then we came down to pest evasion, that's in agriculture, as we get to understand that the industry is suffering from migratory illness, and also looking at the aspect of pests, which is avoiding quite enormous protection right there. And we came down to the regional funds, this time around looking at some member states in a report that are not paying, which is crippling. That's the performance of that community. And this time around, we are talking the East African community. That's it for the news recap this morning. Let's get into a short commercial break. SMB returns. Good morning.
Smart 24, driving business.
is my joy. Ono bulu majiki wange.